Hello, Albuquerque.
In those days, it was 41, so there was a lot of racism.
I'm a Boeing 737 first officer.
I did a lot of research and I recommend everyone do the same.
And now suddenly you're addicted, literally to heroin.
Where were you born? I was born in Cambridge, England.
Both my parents were drug addicts.
Welcome again, everybody, to another episode. As always, I've got another amazing guest with me today. It's a very special guest. This is my good friend, Peter.
Hello. Good to be with you, man.
Thank you, Peter. Let's give him a round of applause, shall we?
Thank you.
Yeah, that is good. Okay. Pias. We have this little thing we do where I am Hyams and he is Pias.
Yeah, Shams and Pias.
So let's dive into how we met there, Peter.
I was working at O'Reilly's. I had just gotten a job. First automotive job, so it was kind of a foreign field to me. And you were the shift lead.
Yeah, I was.
Pretty much all the time whenever I was working.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think of honestly how we got
I don't know, I think... I'll be the first to admit I'm kind of guilty of I judge people immediately on looks. Mm-hmm. And not to say that I won't like somebody or something, but more or less on how I'm going to like them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no.
And then a lot of what comes into play after that is me basing your work ethic on who you are. Mm-hmm. And I guess maybe that's not the greatest thing to do, but you were a good worker. So we instantly hit it off.
Yeah. I did pride myself in, trying to do a good job.
Okay.
I do get lazy sometimes.
You're good at the job while you do it. You just don't stay long. You have a problem with committing.
My ADD, I get.
That's fair.
Like on to the next.
That's fair.
Before O'Reilly's, I had worked Pizza 9.
No. That was after. You worked at the liquor store.
Oh yeah, so it was the liquor store when it was Kelly Liquors.
Yes.
Then I did O'Reilly's. Then I did Pizza 9.
Yeah. So let's quickly deep dive into how our friendship blossomed at the O'Reilly. So we did a lot of closing shifts together. Mm-hmm. So at that time, I had gotten promoted to assistant manager, and then I went part-time because I was building police cars during the day, and that paid way more, so I wasn't about to quit that. But we were doing a lot of closing shifts, and we had a lot of shifts where nobody came in, and all we did was laugh and do stupid shit.
Mess with the intercoms.
Do you remember? I don't remember exactly the situation, but there was nobody there that night, and it was kind of quiet. We were like facing or something like that, and from the Pizza 9 side of the wall, I don't know, we were doing the South Park take a order please.
Oh yeah, and somebody
on the other side was laughing their head off. So we were so freaking loud in O'Reilly's that our next door neighbor on the other side of the wall heard and laughed, and it was good times.
Yeah, well, and that wall was like the worst. It was barely even a wall.
Yeah.
The top wasn't sealed, so when that little joint in between Pizza 9, their sewage backed up.
Oh God.
That's. We came up with our differentiation of the jingle.
Our variation of the O'Reilly jingle.
Instead of parts, it was farts.
And it was good. I mean, it wasn't good. It wasn't fun. It stunk, and it was terrible, but yeah. So the Pias and Hyams thing, getting back to that.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of voices. I remember, when we were closing, we'd be listening to just whatever random music. You'd be putting on a bunch of your hippie techno shit.
Yeah.
And so it started with I can't remember what song, but there's a couple of techno songs back then that I would make fun of, just being a dick. And do you remember the song? It has nothing to do with peepees, but that's what I thought the lyrics sounded like. Do you remember what it was?
I don't, unfortunately.
Fuck, it was.
So I'll point out, because everyone's going to be wondering why I have such issues remembering stuff since my seizure.
We're going to get to that. No, don't spoil it.
Okay.
No spoilers.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to, inform. That's why I seem like such a scatterbrain.
No, dude. Okay, look, I don't have an excuse, and I'm scatterbrained, so you can't judge because I'm here like asking you to remember when I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure it started with me calling you Hyams first. And then you realized because my login was like PJOSS, so you're like,
so
Pyas.
Yeah. And that's our imitation of German. And now please don't be offended. We're not knocking on Germany or the German people. It's just such a funny and cool language with a cool accent. So we like to mimic it.
Yeah, mockery is the ultimate form of flattery, and I honestly I love it. It's like my favorite voice to do.
I don't know. There's quite a few. Same like the South Park Take a Order, please.
Yeah.
And again, that's mocking South Park, not mocking Asian accents.
Yeah.
I love Asian people.
Well, technically, the character in that episode wasn't even Asian. So.
Yes, he is.
No. He's got like multiple personalities, and that's one of his, is the shitty walk guy.
Shitty walk.
Yeah. You got to catch up on it.
Ugh, I'm so far behind.
I'll catch up on Letterkenny, and you get caught up on South Park.
Okay, well, it's easier to get caught up on Letterkenny because it streams more places. South Park's pretty exclusive.
Yeah. Max.
Yeah, like I have HBO Max.
What?
Why the fuck would I have that?
If only you had the ability to get it.
Now, anybody out there listening, Letterkenny is phenomenal. So please listen to that.
If you got a problem with that, you got a problem with me. You better let that one marinate.
That's right. There's a special place in heaven for anybody who is an animal lover. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I always say.
Yeah. And we love our animals for sure.
Yeah, as you can see in the podcast,
Even let them join.
We will have puppies climbing all over us, and we've got fish marinating in the background in their bubbles. So you're gonna have to. Oh, that was a poor choice of words, especially from a vegan.
We are going to eat them after.
No. Okay, we've got fish basking in their bubbles in the back. I'll try to do my best to get rid of the noise, but anyway, so Peter and I have been friends for quite a few years, and that's why I wanted to have him on here. Peter has some experiences, and you wouldn't know it from looking at the gentleman, but this guy can sing like nobody's freaking business. And if you don't believe me, find him on YouTube and watch, because he's freaking good. And you are super self-deprecating. Like you won't ever admit to it, but you're a damn good singer.
Yeah, no, I my number one humor is self-deprecating humor, and I don't know.
I've
never been one to toot my own horn.
Well, you should.
I like to have other people toot my horn.
Oh. Boom. That's what she said.
But I appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's a lot of practice. I was formally trained in operatic singing.
That's what I wanted to get to. Now, this was in Florida, wasn't it?
Yeah. I had already been taking guitar classes in high school because I wanted to play an instrument, but I didn't want to play like a big trombone or a big old brass instrument. I already knew I liked guitar.
Sure.
And from that, it spawned into me like acknowledging notes, and I noticed that I could hear and pick out the notes a lot easier than most people.
Yeah.
So when I'm singing a song, I can mimic that note easier.
You have perfect pitch.
Most of the time, yeah. I can, at least if I can't match it singing for whatever reason, I can at least hear still like I was off on that note.
I like to think that I have perfect pitch, but I don't even have maybe semi-perfect pitch. I can hear, but I cannot translate it. And I definitely sure as fuck can't sing. So yeah, that's out of the question. I can do backups and harmonies and stuff like that, but when it comes to carrying my voice and holding notes, I am terrible at it. Like you would think, I don't know, based on the voices that I can do and based on like the accents and you know, mimicking people, I'd be pretty good at it. I am fucking terrible, dude. My teacher in high school, my mariachi and guitar teacher, we sat down at a piano one time and he's like, you have an incredible range to your voice, so let's test its limits. Bro, it was like 1 octave. And he's like, no, but you need to go deeper. And I'm like, I can't fucking go deeper, dude. That's what she said, and I can't do it.
Did he give you any like breathing tips or information?
No.
So the biggest thing that I learned was you don't breathe from the chest. That's how,
right,
like,
from
that's
your
how
diaphragm.
Green Day. If you want Green Day, you'll breathe from the chest because it gives you like a nasally.
That's good.
Nasally and less control and less like depth in your voice.
That's interesting.
But if you get that deep diaphragm breath,
that's what she said.
Yeah, you can even. I was doing karaoke the other night, and my friend noticed I had my hand in my pocket because I'm all awkward in front of people. So she runs up and she pulls my hand out of my pocket and just says, "Do something else with your hand." And so I started like putting it on my, like as I'm walking around, like you can actually use it to kind of force more air out too on certain notes.
Oh,
But breathing is like the most critical thing, honestly, in it. If you don't get any tips on that, you're kind of set up for failure.
I don't know. I can do a mean falsetto. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what it is about my voice, but when it comes to holding a note, my voice is real shaky. Mm-hmm. Real shaky. Like, you can't hear it in me talking, obviously, but when it comes down to it, like, and I try to sing to myself in the car, bro.
You just got to learn how to make that a weapon. Use that vibrato.
No. I'm not a singer.
No.
I play the instruments, and I do shit like podcast.
Yeah.
And make videos.
I'm the same with, like, when people are like, well, come dance with me. I'm like, nope, I'm not a dancer. I'll be the one to make the music. I'll make the people dance, but I'm not a dancer. But do you ever notice when it gets the vibration? Is it like because you have nerves, or are you like in a confident state?
I'm in the car by myself.
Oh, okay.
Like enjoying.
Well, I overthink myself sometimes in the car. Like
generally,
that's the time where you think you'll be most comfortable, but even then, like, for whatever reason, you get that thought in your brain of just like, oh, did you just hear that?
But I'm doing it for fun. I'm not like thinking about it. I'm just singing along, just driving along. Okay, and to be fair, that that rarely ever happens because 90% of the time I'm listening to podcasts. Oh, yeah. And real quick, before we get off that topic, I want to just point out that anybody who doesn't listen to podcasts, you should really get started doing so. And, well...
I need to.
Now, another thing to be fair, if your commute is 5 minutes to work or less, it's not going to be worth listening to it. If you have plenty of time at work, yes, listen to podcasts. But you need to dedicate some time to it. So I have an hour and a half commute each direction to and from work, so I can listen to like some real long episodes and get a full 2 hour long episodes in on my commute, or maybe even 3 if I push it.
Yeah, easy.
But on that note, I listen to so many podcasts that when I'm all caught up on all my podcasts and there's no new content to listen to, I'll just put on my playlist on Spotify for music, and every song is like the first time I heard it again. It's like amazing. It's like, I forgot about this. I love it.
Yeah, that little break in between.
It refreshes my joy for music, and it becomes less stale. So if you have the option and the time to listen to podcasts, you should definitely do that.
What's your preferred genre of podcast? What is?
I don't have a preferred genre. I'm all over the place. I like things that I can learn from. I like things that are interesting. So I do listen to a lot of airplane stuff because I'm an av geek. Mm-hmm. I think I have 3 or 4 different podcasts that I listen to airplane stuff on. Dax Shepard, Armchair Expert, bro. The people he talks to. When I started listening to podcasts, I was big on celebrity interviews. Mm-hmm. Just to learn about their histories, to learn about what's
more than just their characters.
And that was cool. But when I started listening to Dax, and he started interviewing professors and writers, authors,
the intellectual,
all kinds of just super intellectual, interesting people, like, it changed my whole scope on who I wanted to hear. And that's part of the reason that I thought this podcast up, is because regular people have shit to say too, and there's a lot of interesting things to learn about, not only people but their life experiences, what they know, what they don't know. There's more to life out there than just celebrities. And don't get me wrong, I'll still listen to a celebrity interview here and there, but I have lost a lot of taste for that. Mm-hmm. I do enjoy a good true crime podcast, but Sword and Scale tops my list. Mike Boudet has a really interesting way of telling stories. He's a damn good storyteller, and like immerses you in the story, and it's pretty crazy to hear some of his stories. Some of them will make you physically ill and shit because he's that good. Yeah. So I do like that podcast. But yeah, that's the majority of what I listen to.
Okay. This coming weekend, I'm taking a trip up to Colorado, like I was telling you, to visit my sister and her family. And it's a 6-hour drive. And assuming, the Raton Pass is good to go, I'm going to have 6 hours of, maybe after 2 hours of music, I'll get sick of it. So I'll need stuff to listen to. So I'll definitely get some recommendations.
Hey, look, now's a perfect chance for you to refresh your joy for music. Mm-hmm. Unstale it by just listening to podcasts your entire trip.
Yeah.
So, what are you interested in as far as what would you be confident dedicating your whole time or committing to listening to? Like, what genres would interest you the most?
Well, the last couple trips I took, my mom and dad actually like doing murder mystery ebooks. So probably something like a murder mystery or like a true crime or something like that.
Well, Sword and Scale's a little rough. I don't know. I mean, it's graphic.
Yeah.
I don't know how they'd handle that. You can give it a try.
Well, no, it most likely it's going to be, regardless, it's going to be me in my car by myself. And if anything, my mom's going in their Sprinter van. They're getting the transmission worked on, and
I see.
They're hoping it'll be done like 2 days before we're supposed to leave.
Sure.
But if they don't, then either way, it's still just going to be me in the car.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you need suggestions, I've got plenty of them.
Absolutely.
I started listening to this podcast called Heart Starts Pounding. Mm-hmm. And that one's super interesting because there's a mix of true crime, like horror, like urban legends, things like that. It's
very thrilling.
Yeah, lots of historical stuff. It's really cool. It's a pretty good podcast, so you should definitely check that one out too. But yeah, I'll text you a list of some really good ones.
It'll be the names of them. I'm gonna be like, okay,
fair enough.
I heard it, but I can't remember it now.
Fair enough. Okay, enough about podcasts. Let's get back to you. So, where were you born?
I was born in Cambridge, England.
Shut the fuck up.
Yep. My dad was Air Force.
You're a Brit?
I'm a Brit.
You son of a Brit.
Well, I'm sure I have British heritage. I've got all kinds of European heritage, but I'm not technically British because I was just born in England. My dad was Air Force. My mom was Belgian.
Doesn't that make you a citizen of their country?
It did, yeah, at the time. I'm not anymore. At 18, I had to choose. I was actually tri-citizen when I was born.
Shut up.
Yeah, I was Belgian nationalized from my mom.
Wow.
British nationalized from being born off base, and then an American because my dad was Air Force. And at 18, I had to choose because Belgium has very strict voting laws, and if you don't participate in a vote or have someone elect someone to vote for you, the next time you're there, you're subject to arrest for not voting. No kidding. Yeah, so I really had to choose at 18.
Wow.
And I chose American, which kind of. I kind of wish I had chosen Europe, maybe Belgium even, but it's honestly, I found out if you do make a deferment, it's not permanent. You can go back and get it. Any of your prior citizenships, you can get it back again.
I did not know any of that. That's super interesting.
So I'm thinking about it, either trying to get British and then go live in Scotland, or get Belgian and then you can just go anywhere in Europe from there.
Yeah, but don't you have to go back to Belgium every year to vote?
I mean, yeah, but I've got family that lives there. I can I can act like an adult finally and just be like, hey, I'm gonna do the formal process to elect my aunt or my uncle or my cousin to go vote for, whoever's.
Wow.
I would honestly trust their opinion. I'd be like, whoever
they vote for,
just put another one down for me.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, but
that's interesting.
That's down the road. I've got to finish school and get a full remote job to where I can have that freedom to just kind of go wherever.
As Americans, we are so fucking spoiled and entitled that I had no clue any of that existed. I need to really open my eyes.
They want to keep it. Shit. They just want to keep them all here. They don't want people to know that they can leave.
No, but I didn't know about the other countries gubernatorial process. That's insane. That's...
Yeah, you're not. They're not gonna publicize that or make it known because it's.
Still,
who's gonna want to go live there? Then they're gonna be like, "You're gonna arrest me just because I don't vote."
Well, yeah.
But anyways,
so
yeah, I tri-citizen when I was born. My dad was in the Air Force. He was stationed at Lakenheath and Mildenhall, which were two different U.S. Air Force bases.
I'm sorry. What did your dad do in the Air Force?
At the time, he was flying C-130s, doing.
Shut up.
Yeah, he was doing relief work for the tribal wars.
Bruh, your dad's Africa. A pilot?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he flew the C-130s.
Bruh.
Yeah.
I need to have your dad on the podcast.
Absolutely.
I would geek out on him.
He would be a thrill to have on, honestly.
Let's put a pin in that and let's readdress that later because maybe you can come back and I'll have both of you guys at the same time. You can kind of mitigate.
The only thing is he's so hard to predict these days. He's always had no real filter.
Give a fuck about a filter.
He had brain surgery maybe 7 years ago. He had been exposed to black mold. At a base in Florida, and it had deteriorated his sinus wall that was right behind his brain, and so essentially his brain was starting to try to leak through his sinus cavity, and so they had to cut all across here and take his skull plate off and pull the brain out and patch the sinus wall.
What?
It was crazy.
They pulled your dad's brain out of his head?
Yeah, we thought we were gonna lose him a couple times.
Oh my god, dude!
One time the patch failed. We had to go to Rust, and they caused an infection, and it was just
Holy dude, I vaguely remember those times. I vaguely remember. I don't.
I was stressing out, and
That is nuts, dude. Wow, I'm glad your dad made it. So
he made a recovery. But like I said, the only thing I've noticed is his thought before speech is it's non-existent anymore, and it gets him in heat with my mom quite a bit, which is funny.
You know what? I purposely have a. So I have a potty mouth in life normally to begin with. Like even I noticed it today. I was in my boss's office before I left, and we were having a chat. I am going to have my boss on here at some point. Guy's super impressive. But we were having a chat before I left about work stuff. And I was just talking to him like he was just anybody. I'm over there, fuck this and fuck that. And this is stupid and all this bullshit. And he's just sitting there interested, listening, like not even flinching at my mouth. And then after I left, I realized, I was like, oh my God, like this is a professional fucking gentleman. He didn't say a fucking word about me cussing. But anyway, I kind of modeled my podcast around that. I don't care for the editing to make it suitable for children because children aren't going to listen to this anyway. They don't give a shit about
True. Yeah, exactly.
us or me or my friends or my people in my social circles. But
I think he'd have a good time. He has a lot of stories. I remember one story that I always tell people that I don't think I'll ever forget. Like I said, he was doing relief work for the tribal wars, the Hutus and the Tutsis in Africa. And he was doing, I think it was medical and food supply, and they were landed on a tarmac. It was a loose term for it. It was basically just an open field.
okay,
And it was nighttime, and they were in the back of the C-130 with the big old, not gate, but the
lift.
the tail lift, down, and they're just all sitting there eating MREs. Which is meals ready to eat.
Yeah.
They're big old.
I'm familiar.
Nowadays they're honestly delicious. I used
really?
to stash those in my room.
No kidding.
Not even nowadays. It was like 15 years ago when I was living with my folks in Florida. If I got in trouble and got sent to my room, I'd be like, well, fine, fuck you. I'm gonna eat my MRE and go underneath.
Dude, my aunt, when she came, she was in Desert Storm, and when she came back, she had a bunch of MREs and gave us some. And I don't care what anybody says. I enjoyed them. I thought they were good.
They're delicious, man. And then so they're eating their MREs, and these 3 Jeeps pull up with 50 cals mounted on the back, and they just kind of sit there. Maybe I think it's like 150 yards from the plane, and my dad's like, well, one of us needs to go talk to them, and they're all just like, just eating their stuff, and he's like, all right, well, fuck it, I guess I'll go talk to them.
Holy shit.
And as he's about to go out, he sees the load master who's in charge of how stuff is loaded on the plane.
Right.
So it has to be balanced.
Right.
He's just sitting there loading up a shotgun, and my dad's like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, I'm not going down without a fight. And he's like,
Holy
those guns
shit,
will
dude.
tear through one side of the plane, through us, and out the other side of the plane.
Yeah.
Like you're not
Easy.
you're gonna pepper spray them from here.
Yeah.
They're 150 yards out.
Yeah, you're not getting anything done with that.
Well, I'm not going down without a fight. I'm fighting. He goes,
Oh
well,
my
okay,
God.
we'll at least get somewhere out of sight so they don't see you and take it as a threat. And so he starts to make his way out there, and he's got his MRE in his hand. And the first thing the guy says, how is your life? And he goes, it's pretty good. How's your life? He goes, good. And then without thinking, my dad looks in his MRE, and they always have the little dessert in it, whether it's like a hard candy or like a brownie. Or
Yeah, I remember.
And he looks inside of it, doesn't know who he's talking to, could be a Hutu or a Tutsi. And he sees his dessert, and he goes, hey, you want a Tootsie Roll? And luckily the guy is just right over his head, and he goes, no. And then they have a little more of a conversation. I can't remember the details on that, but he walks back to the plane. They're fine. They drive off, and I always think about it whenever he gives me shit for not, thinking before I act or thinking before I speak. And I'm like, Dad, you had 350 caliber machine guns pointed at you, and you thought it was smart to make a joke. Like, I don't know, but.
That's
he's
hilarious.
He's got all kinds of stories. We've got home videos of him doing low level flying.
Dude,
through
I'm in.
Norway, and he would tell me all the time that there's times when they're trained to fly just no higher than street light.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, and it's intense, and that's what made me want to get into the Air Force too. I tried to follow in his footsteps. I knew it was going to be a difficulty being a pilot in the first place because I had always had bad vision. At the age of 8, I had to wear glasses. I don't have to anymore now. I got LASIK it was early last January. It was like 2 weeks before my seizure. And so now I have 2015 vision.
Okay, remind me later, but I want to know if there's any correlation between the two. That's interesting.
I'd want to double check my dates because I also feel like after saying that, I feel like it was also kind of like a birthday thing, so it might have been closer.
Okay, anyways,
so I wanted to follow his footsteps and join the Air Force, and when I realized I probably couldn't be a pilot, I wanted to be TAC-P, which is Tactical Air Control Party.
Okay.
Which they are the special forces of the Air Force. They go in with all the other branches, and anything that has to come from the air goes through them. So if you're like SEAL Team 6 and you need an airstrike on something, or you need a medevac or whatever, you have to have this guy who's also equally specially trained, to keep up with you, but also to be able to relay that stuff. And I wanted to do that. Did the ASVAB test. I was ready to go. I got a 96 on the ASVAB without studying. I think the highest is a 98.
Holy shit.
The recruiter was like, "Oh, dude, you pick a job, any job you want, and we'll get you into it." And then I made the mistake of, they asked me some more questions about like medical history, and I mentioned, "Oh yeah, when I was a kid, like 10 or 11, I took medication for ADD." And I had information on the medication. I knew about, like, it was like a year of me taking it, and then we stopped it because I was like super underweight. I had no appetite. It was like, it was helping my focus and helping school and whatnot, but it was deteriorating my physical health. And so we stopped doing that. And I mentioned that to them because my dad had said, "Don't lie to them. Like, if you lie to them, they'll find out, and it's gonna bite you in the ass."
Totally.
So I go in and they ask me about this stuff, and I tell them, and they're like, "Okay, well, we'll see if we can get a waiver," and blah, blah, blah. And I go home, and the night that I go home, my dad's like, "Don't tell them anything. Let them find it themselves." And I'm like, and I get the difference now between not telling them anything and not telling them a lie. Like, I should have just been like,
you should have told the truth about everything they told you, but like they
omitted the stuff they didn't need to know.
Well, I mean, what if that's important?
Yeah. But exactly. That's what I was like. Well, I guess I better cover all the bases just to make sure it doesn't bite me in the ass, even 5, 10, 15 years from now. So that they medically DQ'd me for that, and I was fighting it. I had him help me because he had a bunch of recruiter friends, being in the Air Force for, at that point, he was in for like 30 years already.
Damn.
So he reached out to his recruiter friends, and they went through the DOJ docs and found the regulations that said if you can prove, like, with a letter from the psychiatrist that it was before the age of 13, it's dismissed. So
cool.
I track him down after 15 years of not even hearing his name. Somehow I remembered his name.
Damn.
And I'm trying to think of it now, and it's one of the things I've forgotten. But I tracked him down. I was like, "Hey, you treated me for ADD, and I'm trying to get in the military, and they need a letter from you." He's like, "Okay, what do you need it to say?" Like, just, he would have, if I had said I needed...
I need permission to kill people.
Yeah, he would have wrote it. But I was like, I did the math, and I was like, "I need you to say that you treated me from blank year to blank year," which, if doing common math, like simple math, you would find out that I was 11 to 12.
Uh-huh.
And then the treatment was stopped because of medical issue, or it was not an optimum outcome or something like that. And he was like, "Okay, yeah." And he typed it up and he sent it to me, and I submitted it to the recruiter, and it went to the Surgeon General, all the way up to the Surgeon General, and he took it back and said no. So it was just wasn't meant to be.
Wait.
Yeah.
So you did what they told you to, and they still...
According to DOJ, the written guidelines specs, and it was still kicked back. It was, the only thing I can credit it to was it was in Obama's last term, and they were doing like major cutbacks to the military. So that's what I usually,
That's crazy. I tried to go to the Army when I was 18 because, why not? I didn't have any other plans for the future. I figured if I stuck around, I was just going to be a drunk or spend my life getting high, which pretty much turned out anyway. So I went down to the recruiting office, and they started asking me the questions, and I was like, "Oh yeah." When I was a freshman, I had athletic asthma. I was diagnosed. So, sometimes when I apply myself athletically, I get asthma attacks, and they're like, "Nope, sorry, you're disqualified. Get the fuck out of here."
Yeah. Well, it's crazy because, like, you got to think they have some kind of position that's less, like...
Bro, what,
less...
how how is me sitting behind a computer typing up shit gonna affect me?
Exactly.
How am I gonna apply myself?
When I think what the issue is they have to hold everyone to the same standard. So even if you're going in as like you're going to be a tech guy, they still, from my understanding, I think you still have to go through the basic and you have to do all that crap. But
it is what it is. It worked out in the long run anyway because
yeah,
I'm not a fan. So
yeah, and I tell myself that too to keep myself from getting depressed about my life plan falling through. I'm like, well, it wasn't meant to be. And looking back, honestly, my mental health at the time when I was trying to get in probably wouldn't have ended in the best way.
Fair enough.
I mean, I was trying to pick my first choice, like I said, was TACP. That's Special Forces. Your high combat, high action position.
Yeah, fuck all that.
I also told them I'll be EOD, which had the highest mortality rate in the military. Highest pay, but the highest mortality rate. And then when I got denied by the Air Force, I was so determined to try to get in. I went straight to the Army recruiter, and I told him, I was like, put me in as a grunt. I don't even give a shit. Just give me something to do. And that didn't, they're all interconnected on their documentation. So they found out and they were like, nope, sorry. And so I went to the Navy and then I went to the Coast Guard and all of them just said no. Yeah. But, yeah, like I said, it just wasn't meant to be and it probably wouldn't have been the way I thought it would be.
Fair enough. Now, on the note of mortality, that's an interesting topic. And I wonder a lot of times how other people feel about it. How does your mortality affect your thought process, I guess, in your daily life? What is it? When you think about, there is an end and it can be any day, it could be any time. How does that make you feel? Like, what do you...
It kind of varies. Some days it's like, oh, when it happens. Some days I'm sure I'm not the only one that's like, well, when is it going to happen already? But it's
that's grim as fuck, dude.
Yeah, but it's not all the time. It's just, I don't know. I've never been religious really. So I look at mortality as like, as long as it's not a gruesome way to go, I'm not too worried about it. Like,
but to that extent, if it is a gruesome way to go, you're gonna go. So you're not gonna know that it's gruesome.
You're just gonna have to suffer for that little bit and then it's done. But well, I mean, like as far as like drawn out or like,
oh god,
drowning sounds terrifying to me. Burning alive.
Oh fuck, dude, being tortured.
Yeah. If it was like some serial killer shit or something, that would be terrible.
Gnarly.
But like if I get in a car crash and it's like quick and sudden, or even like 5 minutes.
But as far as like your thoughts on because I think about the future and I think about what I'm going to leave behind. I mean, maybe not like a legacy or anything because I'm not. No, I'm not anybody, but like
I do think about that.
The people who around me the people I care about, like things that I haven't finished that I want to finish. Like, bro, I swear, if Ghost is a real thing, I'm gonna be a fucking ghost because I'm gonna die with all this shit on my mind. Like, oh, I gotta go finish this before I die. I can't die yet. Like
these 500 projects I needed.
Bro, I gotta go home and make my battery rack. I'm not done with it. Like.
In the middle of the night, it's just gonna be like just getting put
moving
together.
Around and shit.
But it's not even gonna be like stuff getting broken or thrown off. And stuff. It's gonna be
fixed.
Stuff's gonna get built or fixed.
Sarah's gonna go into the garage one morning. My car's all fucking done,
ready to go.
I'm like, I can rest in peace now.
Wait! I got this other one.
Oh, I forgot. I have to finish this side job.
I think about that, and if it's not obvious, I had bouts of pretty bad depression, and that was one of the things that honestly kept me from, that and being afraid of actually doing it, but thinking about like who I'm leaving behind, what I'm leaving behind, because I've been through 3 different suicides that were close to me, and the first one was the hardest. It was a good friend named Zach. He was super smart kid. He was born in England the same time I was.
Hold on, let me stop you real quick. Are you comfortable saying his name in case any of his family listen to it?
No, they're open about everything.
Okay, go ahead.
Super smart kid. He was, in the Boy Scouts. He learned all this stuff growing up. His dad and mom were also super intelligent. They were like uncle and aunt to me because my dad and his dad worked together in the Air Force in England, doing all kinds of the intense relief work together. And then we moved to the States. They moved to the States, and we all kind of separated. And when 9/11 happened, my dad actually got back into the military. Got stationed at Kirtland here in Albuquerque, and so did his family.
Oh wow!
And so Zach and I were both maybe 10 years old And so our families got together again. And we would go explore the foothills and hike around because we were super outdoorsy. And eventually we drifted apart again. I moved to Florida. He had stayed here and then went to where is Yale? Yale is in Massachusetts. Somewhere
Yeah,
in the
it's
Northeast.
Ivy League, right? So I
Yeah.
think it's
He went to Yale because again, like friggin' genius. And he was working with NASA. It wasn't even like something for the school. He was working aside from school with NASA with this group
Jesus.
to do some kind of project. I never got to find out what. And his partners in it were slacking. They were, not pulling their weight, and so he pulled their weight for them, and it stressed him out, and he eventually suffocated himself.
Are you
And,
kidding? What the fuck?
That was the hardest one for me because I felt bad because it had been years since I had talked to him or reached out, and I felt like I was, guilty of not doing my best to help prevent anything or being there for it. But then I also fought with the struggle of like, well, here's, he was a super smart, super capable, doing this
Yeah,
stuff
it's
with
such
his
a
life,
waste.
and I'm over. I felt like I was not meeting that, So that made it a real hard, constant thought of like, well, like it should have been me, kind of shit.
That's first of all, that's a fucking horrible way to think.
It is.
I mean, I understand it, but it's a terrible way to think because maybe in your eyes you can see his value and all that he has going for him, but maybe in somebody else's eyes they see what you have. It's sort of a catch-22 thing where somebody else sees it, and
it's also it's a useless thought because it's like, well, what if, or like it.
I went through the what ifs with my brother when he passed away, and my mom said something to me, and listen, generally a lot of the shit my mom says to me, I'm like, better not. But this actually stuck with me, and it was pretty good. She said, okay, well, you're playing the what ifs, because it was like, what if my brother called me to come pick him up and take him home? I would have done it. And, I was just on the other side of town. I would have done it. I would have gladly done it. But she's like, okay, well, then maybe you bypassed him dying that night. But what if I went to pick him up and we died in a car accident the next night
Together,
or something like
yeah.
that? Yeah. And I was like, well, shit, you can't play the what ifs because
it's just a Pandora's box.
It's going to drive you crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But, I've gotten through it. I'm feeling a lot more optimistic these days. I got a mindset on like a goal. I've got, doing school again, working a good job.
That's fantastic. And I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Now, real quick, before we move too far off this topic, I want to address the other two. You said you had 3 suicides you lived through. You don't have to go into detail if you don't want to or anything like that, but
the second one was my buddy Eric. I had known him the first time living in New Mexico. He was 3 houses up my neighbor, and our neighborhood had these stone walls that went alongside the back of everyone's yard.
Okay.
We would use it as our little highway. We would run along that wall. I would run from my house up to his house, and we would meet in his backyard, and then jump the wall to our other friend's house.
Nice.
And have like dirt clod wars and just like water gun fights, just stupid kid stuff.
Fun stuff.
I moved to Florida. I finished middle school, finished high school, was doing some college there, and I got stagnant. So I moved back here just like on a whim. And I moved the week that they were having a memorial for him. I hadn't even found out yet that he had killed himself. I got here, and then his sister reached out to me because I was good friends with her too. And she reached out to me, and she was like, hey, we're doing this. Would you want to go? And I was like, hell yeah, I want to go. Like, that weekend I went and we did the memorial, and I caught up with her, and we hung out again, which was nice to see her after fucking like it was probably 10 years. So that was another hard one too, just because he was always a very positive, again, very capable. He had his difficulties and his challenges, when I compare him to my friend Zach, but still, like, it's just an equal difficult loss. And
of course.
The third one was the most recent. My buddy Deshay, he took his life with a gun because he had unfortunately gotten in bad with some harder drugs, and it had messed with his mind, and it changed his inhibition basically. So he just, he lost it. He was having an issue with his girl, and
fuck.
He was like, well, go start the car, and she went out of the apartment with the kiddo, and she heard a pop, and
fuck,
he's gone. And that one was hard too, because I had just started making this new friend group, and they had introduced me to him, and I got to see him right before that crossover of him getting into the harder drugs, and I got to meet him, when he was still Deshay.
Yeah.
So I've been through 3 so far. I'm sure I'm gonna go through more losses.
That's
but,
fucking awful.
But
I mean, I've had my. Not to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
I was just gonna say I've had my fair share of losses in life, but the majority of mine, the vast majority, are unexpected or caused by others. I've only ever experienced 2 suicides. And actually, one of them I didn't even know about until 2020. I found out that one of the guys I graduated high school with took his own life with a gun in a truck. And then when I was installing interlocks in Santa Fe, we had
Bless you.
We had a client who had the same car as me. So she and I joked about, we got along because we had the same car.
Yeah, twinsies.
And she turned out to be my friend's cousin, who I worked with at Pet Boys. Mm-hmm. Well, she didn't show up for her appointment one day, so we reached out, and it turned out she had a problem with alcohol still, and got drunk, and apparently called a guy to come over and told him if he didn't show up, she was going to kill herself, and she did. She hung herself in the shower for her mom to find her. That's crazy. She was young too, real young.
Yeah, and again, the change that's happened, because I know, what we were talking about, what we're leaving behind and who we're leaving behind and how it's going to affect them. That changed a lot, having gone through those 3 suicides. Because I noticed it after Zach, but at that point I was like, well, I don't care. The people are going to be sad, but I'm going to be gone, so I won't have to deal with that. But after the
very selfish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's I don't want anyone to think that I'm calling suicidal people selfish, but it's a very selfish thing
really
to do.
is. Yeah.
You're putting yourself. I mean, granted, you're eliminating yourself from it, but it's still you're putting yourself above everyone else and saying, I don't care what they.
But
they
to be fair, I guarantee you, to be fair, I guarantee you that not a single one of those people in that situation thinks of that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they might reconsider, because they're not in the right state of mind. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in that situation. So, it's not really fair to judge them, but also at the same time, it is very selfish. There's no denying that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so that's what really turned my mind around, was thinking I've seen what losing them to all our friends, our family, I saw what that did to them. I've also still got my pets, they're my babies. So
all the babies.
I gotta stay strong for them. And it's been getting better.
No, and I've seen the improvement firsthand. Prior to a previous break that we had, I hadn't seen you for a good couple of years.
Yeah, that was
that
was a long break.
I reached out several times.
You did, and I was always forcing myself to flake.
It's okay, I understand. I've been in that situation, so I can't judge at all. I've been there.
Yeah.
It was just, I will say, from my perspective, it was very sad. I was upset a lot of the time because we're good friends.
Point,
I always wanted to have you over, and we did a lot of shit together. And bro, for the longest time, I have been dying to get you on camera with me to play guitar or just fuck around, make a video, whatever. You're a funny dude, and I know you're camera shy, but you really shouldn't. Again, you're a talented dude, and you're super positive. Well, at least what I know of you, and I know you've had your struggles, but anytime we're together, you're not a downer. Yeah. I'll just say that. We have a lot of laughs, and I really enjoy your company. So
I appreciate that.
This one of the main reasons you're extraordinary in my eyes. You're fucking fantastic. You keep a very positive outlook, and if you have any different feelings than that, you're sure good at hiding it. And I don't like that. I don't want you to be hiding them.
I need to be, and I am being more open about stuff, telling my parents how I feel about things.
That's great.
I'm seeing a counselor just to have someone to practice talking about this important stuff.
Well, and here's another practice. You are more than welcome to come on here and talk to me anytime. Yeah. Or even if you don't want everybody to know, you can talk to me about anything. Yeah, and I've told you that before.
I do. I know it. And I can finally now utilize that again.
Yeah, please. I mean, even if you get back into one of those situations where you're not able to make the time to hang out or anything like that,
I'm going to make sure I don't.
Well, okay, we all say that, but shit happens, bro. It's life. Shit happens. So if it does happen again, no biggie. But please, use me as a resource, even if it's just to chat.
Yeah.
You're my friend, and I want to be there to help.
You're one of my longest friends that I've had here.
That's crazy, because I've only known you since what, like 2015, 2016, something like that.
Yeah. Well, like I had some people that I became friends with when I first moved here, but they've dropped off. You've been the one that's
Bro, well, we've had fucking great times together. You have a personality for sure. You've got charisma. Charisma.
I appreciate it, man.
No. So okay, let's now tell me about Florida. How was life in Florida? Because that's a part of your life that you told me some stories about before that I was like, wow, that sounds fucking awesome. Like,
Yeah.
you know, your time out on the boats and whatnot, and just
Oh, yeah.
just the Florida life. So let's dive into that a little bit.
Definitely do miss a lot of the aspects of Florida. Biggest thing I don't miss is deep in the Bible Belt. Lots of religious driven.
You mean
everything.
But do you mean that you miss Florida, man?
I miss the scuba diving. I miss the fishing. I miss the babes on the beach.
Do you know what I'm talking about, Florida man?
Florida man. Oh, like the crazy Florida man.
The headlines.
Yeah.
Florida man.
Luckily, most of that stuff. I mean, we had some of our craziness in the Northwest Panhandle, which is, so if you're looking at Florida and it comes up like this, and then it comes over towards like Texas. We were way over here on the Floribama border.
Oh, okay. Where did you live?
Navarre was the name
Navarre.
of the town. It's right next to Hurlburt Field, which is the base.
Okay.
U.S. Air Force Base.
Real quick before we move on, did you know that there's a city there in Florida that's basically a giant retirement community? It's based around golf carts and shit like that. Like you can drive golf carts. It's like maybe a Trump goes there all the time. God, I can't remember.
I feel like I've seen something about that.
It's
but
crazy,
yeah,
but it's like 300,000 people or something live there.
That's like a big chunk of Florida's population, honestly.
It was on Armchair Expert. It was so Armchair Expert has Armchair Expert, Armchair Anonymous. Monica Padman, who's the co-host, has her own show, and then they have this guy from New Zealand on there who's a friend of theirs, and his name is David. Anyway, he makes documentaries and podcast stuff like that. So he does this podcast where he's trying to be more American. So he goes to all these places and does a podcast episode about hot dogs or about whatever, just to become more American. Well, one of them was about this community, so I'll send that one to you for sure because it's super interesting. But anyway, proceed about Florida. You lived up in the Panhandle,
and it was all pine forest, which is not what everyone thinks of Florida.
No,
like
not at all.
Trees and beaches.
Yeah, totally.
But it was really nice because we were like a 10-minute drive from White Sand Beach. It was actually known for having the whitest sand beaches in the country.
Wow.
And the biggest, like I said, the biggest things I miss is going out on the water, doing the deep sea fishing in the Gulf. Because my dad was, he's military, so he's very mission oriented, and we'd go out for, everyone's like, oh, you're going out for a couple hours? I'm like, no, we're going out for like 13 or 14 hours. And we're going like 25 miles out into the bay, or into the Gulf.
How close were you to Mobile?
Mobile, I want to say it was like 3 hours.
Okay.
I think I looked it up. I never actually went to Mobile, but
okay. I just want to I have a friend in Mobile. I just want to get a geographical.
Yeah. No, we were close.
Okay. Cool.
Close enough that I knew the name for sure.
Cool.
The scuba diving is probably what I miss the most. Everyone here is like, oh, we should go to the Blue Hole. I'm like, that's going to be cold and it's going to be boring compared to being out in the Gulf. But like I said, I was living there for middle school, high school, and then I did some college there. So I spent plenty of time. I started diving, I want to say, my 10th grade.
Did you get like a dive master or anything like that?
I just got full open water certified. Well, I started my open water certification, and then when I graduated high school, my dad treated me to a trip with him to the Bahamas.
Wow.
For a week-long dive cruise.
That's really cool.
It was like a 65-foot sailboat.
Dang.
And all-inclusive, and it was me and it was like 8 or 9 other people.
Wow.
I didn't know really any of them besides my dad. But we all had signed up for this trip, and we did, like 2 or 3 dives a day for 7 days a week.
Damn.
That's where I finished getting my certification. I did a night dive. I did a drift dive, which is when you you jump in with an empty BCD, buoyancy compensator device, which you can fill up with air or let out air to change your buoyancy.
Oh, okay.
And so you jump in with it completely empty, so you just sink like a stone.
Wow.
At the bottom. And then we would all group up and meet at the bottom, and then when we were ready to go, we would all pump some air in, and then the current would just take you and you just go flying along the ocean floor. And that was probably the most fun dive. It was called the ice cream scoop. You get to this part where it literally looks like the earth got carved out with an ice cream scoop, and the current hits it and it tumbles you like a dish or a clothes washer.
Oh, wow.
You just and you're tumbling all around, and then finally it just spits you out.
That's crazy.
And that was probably the most fun because it was just the most like chaotic. But then the night dive, that was an interesting one because you can only see, as far as your flashlight goes. But got fully open water certified down there. Came back up to where we were living, and my dad and I would go out every weekend just doing.
That's crazy.
2 or
That's
3
really
dives.
cool.
And we would salvage a lot of his favorite thing to do was salvage lead, fishing weights and everything, and we'd take it back home and he'd melt it down into either weights for diving or for trolling, which is when you have your lines out behind you and you just drive along.
Yeah.
That was most of our fishing, which was super monotonous, where you just kind of like chugging along and you got the lines behind you and you watch and you look to see, and every like 4 hours you might catch something.
That's cool. Now, what kind of sea creatures did you see while you were down there?
I got to see a lot of jellyfish. That was the predominant thing. Moon jellies. They finally started getting man of war jellyfish, which are like super toxic.
Yeah.
They're or poisonous, venomous. I guess
Venomous, yeah.
So that was kind of spooky seeing those near the end. But I got to see sea turtles. Got to see this massive fish called a sunfish, which
I know what sunfish are. They're dope.
We got to see a few of those. I got to see whale sharks. I got to see a lot of dolphins. I had
that's cool.
A good time where we were out on the boat just cruising along, and this pod of maybe like 50 or 75 speckled dolphins were just jumping in our wakes, and then finally they came up to the boat, and I was sitting on the very front looking over the boat, and they're just like keeping up with us and swimming around. And manta rays, we got to see manta rays.
Nice.
Stingrays, horseshoe crabs, just all kinds of. The thing that we would hunt for was shovel-nosed lobster, and so you dive down to a wreckage, and usually it was all artificial reef where they had tanks or airplanes that they had just sunk into the Gulf.
Oh, that's
try
cool.
to make reefs, and you go and you hang upside down, and you're looking everywhere, and you there's no limit on them size or quantity. And so you just pluck these guys hanging off the ceiling of all the wreckage, and you throw them in your little mesh sack, and you take them home, and it tasted like Maine lobster. You would eat the tails of them, and
don't want to hear it.
I know.
No. Go ahead.
But
are they prepared the same way? Or like they about the same size as Maine lobster?
They were only about that big. That was a good sized one.
So for the listener, that's I don't know what to 8 to 10 inches.
Yeah, like 6 to 8.
And you're talking about the whole lobster.
Or
are you talking about just the tail?
Just the tail.
Oh, okay. So they are more or less.
Oh no, I apologize. So this was the body, and the tail was probably about that big.
Oh, that's like a 3 or 4 inch. Okay, yeah.
And the main difference was instead of like Maine lobsters, how they have the big old claws.
Yeah.
They're paddle nose, so they have these flat things that they sift through the sand and they eat a bunch of other little mini crustaceans.
Oh, crazy.
So it gives them an interesting taste to it. It's hard to explain honestly after so long. I just remember it was good. But that was really, other than that, and the fish that we would try to catch for sushi and red snapper for blackening and cooking. But
Hold up, you made your own sushi?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, there's a fish called amberjack, and that one was the hardest fish to catch because you have to jig. So you have a metal weight that's spoon shaped, which makes it bounce around weird when you pull it up real hard. So you stand there and you reel, and you pull real hard, and you reel, and you pull real hard from like 200 feet depth of water.
Damn.
And you do that over and over and over again, and you hope you catch one. But they make the best sashimi, to the point where we would get home and we would start unloading everything, and as we're like getting ready to clean the fish, my mom comes out with a plate of wasabi and soy sauce and
You're just
ginger.
taking bites out of the fish.
No, we would cut it, and she would come in with her chopsticks and grab it as we cut the slice off.
Oh man!
And it was pretty good. I just saw something actually that apparently the best sushi isn't the freshest. Like if it's, and of course you don't want to let it sit for a day or anything like that.
But why not?
Apparently, if you let it sit for like maybe 5 or 10 minutes, it's better than like the super fresh, like fresh out of the water. But all I know is it was delicious.
It's crazy that you say that. I've become, even if I went back to eating fish or anything like that, like I'll never go back to eating meat. I'll never be a full carnivore again. And probably never go back to any kind of meat, fish included. But should something happened and I had no choice but to eat fish, I'd be too fucking scared to eat sushi anymore because, you know, all the little organisms and the fucking worms and parasites that they have now, that it's everywhere. You can't get fish without that stuff. And I know that like the flash freezing or whatever they do, like, gets rid of it, but then you're also, what's the point?
Yeah.
You're getting rid of the whole purpose of catching it fresh, you know?
Exactly.
Like, and to that note, real quick, let me just say one more thing. There is all kinds of companies out there making alternatives, vegan alternatives. And I've actually tasted a couple of them. I have Sarah's bought me a couple times a California roll. And it's not spot on, but it's pretty damn close, enough to whet my appetite.
They're even doing like the printed. They use cellular technology to make the fake meats.
I've seen that,
and I'm curious to try it. I've had a lot of people be like, "Oh, what is wrong with us? Why are we doing that?" I'm like, "Why not give it a try before you knock it?"
Right, you're just over here like that's a very selfish thing to say too. You're trying to like you would rather cause harm to an animal than eat an alternative that doesn't cause harm. That doesn't make any sense. That's really,
like, I will admit,
selfish.
I have a hard time giving up because I love my food. I love all kinds of food. Like, there's not much that I won't eat. Yeah, exactly. That's when I see a plate of food. That's but I do feel guilty every now and then when I think about, you know.
Hey, I'm not trying to guilt you or trying to sway your
I know
diet or anything. I know
you're not.
Sarah
but
and I are super passionate about animals, so that's the choice that we made.
That's
like,
a valid point.
Anybody who is trying to give it a try or even willing to like take a chance or even replace a couple meals a week with a vegetarian option, like, I'll strongly encourage it, but it's not my choice. It's not my place to be telling people what their diet should and shouldn't be. I'm just saying, like, if global warming's real and there's a fucking reason for it, there's and causing animals harm there's no justification for it in my eyes. There's nothing you could tell me in life that could possibly justify it. So, and again, to each their own. I'm not trying to guilt you or anything like that. I'm just saying, like,
I get it.
That was my whole reason. But yes, to that note, there's several companies out there with like coming up with valid sashimis and sushis. You can order like crab sticks. You can order like all kind, and they not only do they look good, they actually taste really, really good. The only issue I will say is texture.
Yeah,
the texture is not always spot on, but it's close. Like, they're getting way better. Like,
oh yeah,
you go back 15 years and there was no options. Period.
It wouldn't even be an idea.
There was tofurkey, and I tried tofurkey recently for the first time, and it was not great.
Isn't it just like tofu with a brown coloring added to it?
I don't know what. No, because texturally, like, it's not like tofu. It doesn't taste at all like tofu. But it's there's something in it. Maybe an ingredient they use to make it hold its shape or whatever, but it has sort of a funny taste and texture to it. But like, what we use for our turkeys is this corn brand, QUORN.
Okay.
And it comes like in a little loaf, like a log, and you slice it up, and dude, it is fucking so good.
I have seen that because my mom's trying to be better about it. Both, it all started, she was cutting out red meat because she had gut issues with it, but then she got turned on to the vegetarianism because my sister is like full blown vegetarian as well.
Bravo, love it.
And she realized the same thing. Like, she's an animal lover, and so she didn't want to be funding or supporting these mass cow slaughter farms and all the chicken slaughter and everything.
Well, and before we get any further, let me just real quick. The way I got into it was Sarah decided that, you know, she didn't want to hurt animals anymore, so she was going vegetarian. And my compromise to that, because she was still making me meat and whatnot, was, okay, I'll eat more sustainably, you know, local raised,
ethically, like, you know, they have
more
free range. They're not just
more friendly slaughtered. And then, you know, one day she was talking about it to me, and she's like, you know, not to sway your choice or anything, but what makes it okay to eat these animals but not our dogs? What makes it okay to eat, you know, whatever? And so I was like, you know, I kind of thought about it, and I was like, yeah, it's really fucked up. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like disgusted with myself.
Well, and especially now, like, with all the access to internet videos from all over the world and all these experiences with animals that people have, you can see, like, their consciousness, and you can see that they have their thoughts, and they have like cows, for example, are just big dogs.
Big dogs.
When you see that, I want
fucking super friendly, cuddly dogs. They just want to play and cuddle.
I want enough room one day where I can have my own cows and just
cuddle them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
But to that note, before you get there, before you go buy a cow that you can cuddle with, you need to stop eating them.
Yeah.
And again, not my choice. I'm just saying, don't be a hypocrite.
To be fair,
I
have been doing instead of regular burgers, I do the Impossibles.
Dude, okay, and I was just gonna touch on that note real quick. Was why continue when there's so many damn good options and people are like, oh, you only do that for health reasons. I could give a fuck less about the health reasons. Do I look like I need to lose a whole bunch of weight? I don't care about that. Like,
yeah,
I'm out there for some flavor, and I'm gonna find what's good out there, and it's only for the ethical purposes. I'm doing it for the animals, but. On that note, there are so many options that make it so fucking easy, that are so delicious.
Oh yeah, we've definitely come a long way in the options of it. So it's a more viable choice in my eyes that I see now.
Eat an Impossible.
Before it was because of like the things that I had tried, like because I had tried a lot of stuff. I tried the veggie burgers. My mom used to do the Boca burgers.
Those aren't bad. They're not terrible.
Yeah, but it wasn't. I was selfish, and I wanted this thing that I was craving for.
No, I get it.
It wasn't.
I get it.
There wasn't a valid substitute.
I
But
fully get it. But yeah,
again,
now
like,
it's
whenever I go to Burger King, that's all it's the Impossible.
the Impossible Whopper is so good. Go eat that shit and
delicious.
go eat that shit and tell me that it's not better than the regular Whopper, because I think it is. Like,
and there's no cows harmed. So I like that. I like
and then Carl's Jr.'s Beyond Burger is fucking so good.
Beyond
so
is good. Too. Yeah, I'm definitely trying. And again, it's kind of, for lack of a better term, forced upon it, because with my current living situation, I'm living with my folks.
Sure.
And my mom's like, well, I want you to focus on saving money. We'll buy groceries. We'll have the fridge full of stuff that you can make your own meals. You can do this, pick what you want to eat, essentially. Yeah. But it's conforming to what her dietary standards are now.
Well, I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for your mom.
So I'm not against the lifestyle. I definitely.
Well, you're welcome to come to dinner here anytime. We have Sarah is incredibly creative in the kitchen, dude. She comes up with some shit that I'm just like, I don't know what it is, but it's fucking good.
Yeah, get in my belly.
Yeah.
Hey baby.
Hey baby.
But I definitely like the choices we have these days.
Okay, so I got us way off topic, and I apologize, but you were talking about the Florida stuff.
That's all I miss about it. I don't miss the Bible Belt. I don't miss the hurricanes. When we first moved there, within the week, we were having to prepare the house for a hurricane.
Holy shit.
I think it was Hurricane Dennis. And so my dad was out through the night for like 4 nights and days straight, just building these like intense, because when he builds something, he goes all the way.
He's mission intense.
He built these extremely thick shutters that were like lag bolted with these huge lag bolts just into the foundation.
Holy shit.
And up into the carrier beams and everything. And
wow.
so I remember helping him on multiple occasions, and then being 14 or 15, I'd be like, I'm tapping out, I'm going to bed. Yeah. And you try to go to bed, and he decides to work on your window. And it's like, but
dude, your folks are awesome.
we had to evacuate within the first, it was like a week and a half, 2 weeks of move there. And that was the most stressful I think we did 2 evacuations the time that I lived there. And that was the most stressful one, because we were trying to figure everything out with our dogs. We had 2 pretty massive dogs, Rhodesian Ridgebacks.
Oh shit!
And I think we had 2 or 3 cats.
Damn.
A bunch of little pets. And so we went all the way to St. Augustine, Florida, which is on the opposite end of the Panhandle. And we find this really cheap, just disgusting hotel because it's one of the only ones in that area that allows pets to stay.
Oh wow!
And we go in, and my mom, she's OCD, which I've gotten from her as well.
Yeah.
Which is a weird combo with me. I have ADD with OCD. So I'll be like, I need to do this and do it really well.
But I don't want to.
Halfway through, yeah, but I don't want it. We're halfway through it, I'm like, oh, but there's this other thing that I need to do too. And then it never gets done right.
That's fair.
So she gets into the hotel room and she pulls the blanket back and there's like pubes in the bed.
Oh,
And she just
fuck.
starts crying, and she goes and she sleeps in the truck.
Oh,
We had a
fuck.
Tacoma at the time, the extended cab Tacoma.
Do you still got? I worked on that truck, didn't I?
Yeah, yeah, I miss it. We sold it to. It was actually, I want to say it was Zach's younger brother, Zach that I mentioned, because they're living here again.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Anyway, she slept in the
got rid of-
truck.
she slept in the truck, and then the next day we actually found out from other military family that this like 5-star golf resort was making exceptions to military evacuees to allow pets.
Oh, wow,
This
that's fucking awesome.
So the next 2 nights we got to stay at this like luxury 5-star
Wow.
hotel. We just had to be good about taking the dogs out.
Yeah, of
They
course.
they were really cool about it, and
Dude, that's
it turned
fucking
around
awesome.
that, but I felt so bad because
That's so cool.
She was just a mess. I wish I could remember the name of it.
Now, did your house survive?
Oh yeah, the only thing that we were elevated, so a lot of houses they're at sea level, or you can even actually see them. The properties like sink down below the road.
Oh,
And you're like,
jeez.
what the hell are you guys thinking building this property?
Yeah.
So they had issues, but ours it was like 15 feet above sea level, so we didn't have to worry about flooding. And then the windows were all safe because of my dad's bunker. What are they called?
bunk
Shutters.
shutters.
His bunker shutters. And it was brick sided house. And then the only damage we got was the siding on our chimney, which was like a 4-foot section of chimney that stuck out from the roof.
Nice.
The siding came off, and our neighbor called and was like, "Hey, this happened, but I went up there and I put a tarp up on it for you.
Oh, wow.
Keep anything from getting in the attic."
That's fucking cool,
And
man.
so we got home and there was like no. All we had to do was take the shutters off and re-side the chimney. We were good to go.
Dude, that's awesome.
Regardless, you're still stressed out about like, oh, well, here's the
Of course.
storm season and here what could happen, and you get the bands of other storms. We didn't. Fortunately, we never really got hit with directly by any other hurricanes, but being in the military or a military family, they have, I think it's anything over a category 3 and it's potentially threatening where you're living, they force you to evacuate.
Oh, wow.
So you have to just drop your shit and hope that you already have everything figured out and just go.
Now, how long did you guys live there in Florida?
There it was.
Well, anywhere in Florida, total.
Well, yeah, it was just the one house in Florida,
Oh, okay.
in Navarre, and that was for 7 years. And
Oh,
at
wow.
the time, that was the longest I had ever lived anywhere.
Wow.
Because that's where he was planning on retiring. They weren't going to send him to another post. He had
Oh,
already
wow.
agreed with
That's
them on that.
nuts.
So that was nice because I had been used to 4 years, 5 years max at one place. That
Right.
was how long I had lived here before in Ohio. That was how long we lived there for 3 years actually.
That's crazy.
Then he got furloughed. 9/11 happened. He got back in the military because at the time he was flying commercial for U.S. Airways. So he also flew the 747s.
Oh, shit. The 737?
I think it was 737s maybe. 730s or 747s.
Wait, okay, so
I don't remember.
hold on. You've got to clarify.
You know more than me.
You've got to clarify for me. Was there 2 engines or 4 engines? I know the C-130 has 4, so it probably would be comparable to a 747 if I had it in my mind. And wingspan wise,
it might have been the 737s.
okay, 737 is what Southwest flies.
You'll have to ask him when you get.
I'm gonna fucking ask him because now it's gonna drive me crazy until I talk to him. But yeah, that's really cool. So U.S. Airways,
Yeah.
that's awesome. They're
Whereas
not even in business
we used to
anymore.
call it useless airways. It was a shit show. Like the only thing that I'm fortunate of is because he got furloughed, he was still technically under their employ. He just wasn't flying for them. They had made an exception. They said, well, we know you're going into the military. We're going to keep giving you paychecks and you're going to get the benefits. So every
Damn.
summer I got to go fly Space Available, which, if you're familiar with it all, it's basically a free ticket, but you have to have that seat, that space available.
Sure.
So if someone doesn't show up and take their seat, or if there's just like an empty flight,
Yeah.
you just get to
That's
fly where you want to go.
Cool, man.
So I'd go up to Massachusetts and Maine to visit my grandparents every summer.
That's awesome.
And they were split. So my grandpa and my step grandma lived in Massachusetts. And for a while, my grandma and my step grandpa also lived in Massachusetts, just a different part. And I would spend time with one, and then I would spend time with my grandma, and then we would drive up to Maine to their cottage on a lake. And they still have it. I'm actually going up in July to go help them because they're starting to feel their age, and I want to help them out and just go visit them and
Sure.
try to help them wherever I can and spend time with them.
Yeah.
And That was one of the biggest benefits, honestly, just being able to fly for free.
Dude, that's way cool. That's a huge benefit. Does your dad have any memorabilia from U.S. Airways? Did he save anything?
I don't think so.
That sucks.
I'd have to check. I'm pretty sure he was happy to be done with that.
I mean, I get it, but
even the military, he has very few. Like, he's got, I think, his retirement award plaque thing that they gave him, but he's never been like a save keepsake.
Yeah, that's I'm projecting my own.
No, I
would love to have some memorabilia from U.S. Airways.
That's how I felt growing up. I always wanted shit. Like, whenever he would get the special tokens or the coins from the Air Force, he'd be like, "Hey, you want this?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, hey yeah, I want that."
That's fucking cool as shit, dude. Do you still have any of that?
I have.
I would love to see it.
I'll look through my storage because I know. Well, I say my storage. The boxes under my bed, because I have like boxes with boxes in boxes, and they have all, like, over the years. Whenever I try to organize, I'm just like, throw this in here and throw this in here. And I used to have a coin collection that I unfortunately misplaced, but in that box I have at least one of those medallions.
I'd love to see it. That's awesome.
Yeah, but then again, like, I'd have to ask him. I think he might have some more stuff tucked away, because my mom was probably more like, well, no, let's.
Well, I mean, if he has pilot wings, I'd love to see the wings.
Yeah,
little pin.
Yeah,
I just want to see it. I'm not trying to rob the guy. I'm super fascinated.
Honestly, if he does have him and we find him and he does the podcast with you, he'll probably. He'd be okay with giving them to you.
I would fucking geek out so hard.
Oh yeah,
dude. U.S. Airways, like, they're not even around anymore. I think that's United now or something.
I don't remember. I do remember when they went out.
That's crazy. All right. Well, I do want to be respectful of your time. I've taken enough of it, and I really appreciate you coming by to chat with me on the podcast.
Yeah. I know I was super nervous about it, but honestly, I had a good time.
No, and as did I. And I think we'll do this again if you're up for it, because we still have tons to talk about that we didn't even touch. So, I mean, I appreciate you being a good podcast guest for helping me carry the conversation, and you're fantastic at it. So
it's fun, yeah.
It is always fun when we are together.
It's good time.
It's good times. Yeah, that is good. To be fair.
To be fair.
All right. Well, that's going to be another episode, Joe's. This is my extraordinary guest, Peter Joss. Peter, if you want to shout out any of your social medias or anywhere that you want people to find you, or if you don't want people to find you.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get back into doing YouTube videos. Man8667 is my
name. Excellent. And I will definitely have you as a guest on some of my videos if you're up for it. Not only music, but my regular stuff. But yeah, I definitely want us to get onto make a video of music together.
I need to pick up my guitar again. It's been...
You definitely do, as do I. And
10 years.
We can...
maybe not. 7 years.
We have recording equipment here that we can actually record, like, high quality shit. I've got good mics. I got all kinds of stuff, so we can make some good quality videos together.
I'd be down.
All right, cool. Well, again, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming by and doing this, and we will definitely do it again. And I definitely want to have your dad on, so please mention it to him and see if he'd be up if that's something he's open to.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you guys again for watching and or listening, and we'll see you again next week for another episode. Bye-bye.